This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Thursday, October 3rd. Man, we have got tons from the Big Ten Basketball Media Day for you today. Archie Miller, we had the longest conversation we've had with him thus far. Sat down with him for nearly 30 minutes. We'll have that for you. Jim Jackson, former Ohio State great, now BTN basketball analyst. He sat down with me as well. Looking forward to Jim Jackson. Tom Izzo. You know Tom Izzo, man. He gets Izzo with it. Going to hear from the veteran. Matt Painter had some good things to say. We'll talk to Purdue's coach, Matt Painter. We'll have that for you. Al Durham, Devonte Green, a couple of Indiana players, of course. We'll hear from those guys. But, man, we've got a lot to get to. That's a lot already. The Indiana women's soccer, they take on Illinois tonight at 8 o'clock. Indiana volleyball, they've got a pair of matches this weekend, sandwiched around Hoosier hysteria. Friday night at 7, they'll take on the Illini in Big Ten play. And then Saturday night, after Hoosier hysteria, they take on Northwestern at 7. Don't forget at 2, out at the Bart, you got baseball. A little fall ball, baby. As IU, I forget who they're playing, to be honest with you. I have no idea. But that's at 2 p.m. on Saturday. So you got all kinds of stuff, man. If you really want to get some IU athletics in, you come early, you go to the BART, you hang out at the baseball field, you sashay on over to the Simon Scott Assembly Hall with your little bag of canned goods. You drop them off. You go in for some Hoosier hysteria at 4:30. You come out, you walk down the sidewalk a little bit to Wilkinson Hall as the Indiana is taking on Northwestern at 7 in volleyball. So let's bust them a big old crowd. So you can really get into it this weekend if you wanted to. And then on Sunday, you can probably watch this. I'm not sure it's on TV or not, but Indiana men's soccer travels to Happy Valley. Take on the Nittany Lions from Penn State as they get into their second Big Ten game of the season. Fresh off of beating Northwestern 3-1. That was the night before. That was on our way up to Chicago. They were up there Tuesday night. How was your week gone? It was packed yesterday, man. Just loaded all day, wall to wall. Wall to wall at the Big Ten Basketball Media Day. Big topic of conversation is the Fair Pay to Play Act. I mean, California is being used as the barometer, but there are other states that are already have legislation either in process or coming. Kentucky was the latest that I saw that someone was pulling something together. Now, Indiana, don't see that happening, mainly because the NCAA is located in Indianapolis. So Indiana's probably going to stay out of that fray as long as they can. But you never know. Lawmakers, they like to make noise and get noticed, so I'm sure some dude is going to pop up with some legislation. Do we know if Michael Penix is fully recovered from his injury? Is he practicing fully or limited to keep him fresh and not re-injure his shoulder? from how he looked against Michigan State, I'd say he's all good. In his own words, he was asked about that, and he said, no, he's 100%. He's good to go. So that's a text in from Tim. Yeah, he looked fine. Plus, he's got 2 weeks to rehab, to rest, rehab, heal, and all that. That's these bye weeks. You get a lot of people healed up. But I think Michael Penix is just A-OK fine. And you'll be seeing him in action against was that homecoming? I think it's homecoming against Rutgers. A week from Saturday. Yeah, I believe that's homecoming. But, man, there's a lot going on this weekend, like I said. I just gave you the entire schedule. Saturday, you can just make a day out of it. You want to bring the kids and make an IU Athletics day out of it? You got it. 2 o'clock at the BART, a little fall baseball. Hoosier Hysteria at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall at 4:30. I mean, that won't last 2 hours. How long does that usually last, Jake?
Around 2 hours, I think.
At the maximum. They're going to get you out of there. So you, at worst case is you're out of there by 6:30. 7 o'clock, guess what? Right down the sidewalk at Wilkinson Hall, Indiana volleyball taking on Northwestern that night. So you just got all kinds of stuff you can do. Yesterday, a great show up in Chicago. Had plenty of people on. Got to talk to a lot of people. Made some. We'll have more on as the season progresses. People like Coach Fred Hoiberg from Nebraska, who'll be on with us when we get closer to those games. So we got a lot to get to, man. Nothing really earth-shattering came out of yesterday, which didn't expect that. The biggest conversation, of course, was about the Fair Pay to Play Act. What are your thoughts on that? Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'll bring that up to the Todd Father tomorrow. I'll be honest with you, I'm not opposed to players being compensated for their own likeness. I don't see how that could be any other way. It's their likeness. Now, there's the only reason that they would be, that likeness is worth something is because of where they are. Let's say they're at Duke or Indiana. Well, that certainly helps, but I think it goes both ways. Indiana's not going to sell an 11 jersey if Devonte Green is not hitting 43% from three-point stripe. Other than Tim Priller, which was a conversation yesterday, which that'll come up in the Archie conversation. He may be the only 13th man in the history of college basketball that could profit from this. Because he was a very, very popular Shaggy DA looking. He looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Well,
I
think other kids would be able to take advantage of this too, because I mean, it doesn't just have to be jersey sales or anything like that. They can do camps in their hometown. They can do other endorsements like that. I mean, it doesn't
but we're talking about just strictly off of likeness, strictly off of that topic came up with Archie yesterday.
I mean,
it was a joke. It was kind of fun. Everybody was laughing about it.
But I'm just saying, like, that is their likeness, and with the current rules, nobody's allowed to do anything like that at all. So
yeah, and it's crap. I mean, it's crap. Do you think these kids they're not going to be making $1 million, man? They're not allowed to have a job during the school year. There's just a lot of rules that are against them. But I think it needs to be unified. It needs to be uniform. And that's the problem, is you've got 50 states, and if 50 different states enact 50 different pieces of legislation, that's a nightmare. But it's up to the NCAA. And to be honest with you, they should have done something before now. This is again a Muppet Mark Emmert problem. They've stuck their head in the sand and just waited for it to go away. The only problem is it didn't go away. Not only did it not go away, now it's signed into law in California, the most populous state in the country. That's where you're starting. Well, and then and you want to threaten those schools? That ain't gonna work out too well for you, Muppet Mark. So the NCAA's got to get off its butt and do what they normally do, screw something else up. I know. Hey, let's form a committee and put Condoleezza Rice in charge. Text into the show. Did you see Marcus Smart interrupt Romeo's Media Day interview recording? He came in to say Romeo got more to talk about. You're a rookie. Romeo looked at him, got up and said, I will remember that as he walked out. Funny. Nope, sure didn't. I did not. I know that the NBA's having all their media stuff as well, so I guess Romeo's been in the news again. I saw a picture of him in a jersey. That's as much as Romeo as I got. I'm covering the Hoosiers, baby. Got more than enough to keep us busy there. Yesterday, basketball media day up in Chicago. All the coaches were in attendance. What are your thoughts? Say it again, Jake. What are your thoughts on who's going to finish where? Michigan State, of course, kind of alone at the top right now. We'll talk about who's going to do what this season. Now, we got a lot to get to, man. Archie Miller, we're going to hear from Archie. It's our most complete interview with Archie yet, I'd say. Jim Jackson, the former Ohio State great, now BTN basketball analyst. I think he formerly was CBS, I think. Al Durham, Devonte Green. We're going to hear from Tom Izzo, even Matt Painter. We got a lot to get to on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We'll be back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thursday, October 3rd. We are back from Chicago, where the Big Ten Men's Basketball Media Day took place. But we got a lot from there. Had our longest, most extensive interview with Archie Miller. Got a chance to sit down with Archie in a breakout session, talk about just a whole bunch of things with a few other guys. Let's hear what Archie has to say.
Coach, the schedule takes a big jump this year, kind of, a nice escalation from November into a really tough all Power 5 in December. Is that the way you want it? Is this a reflection of your schedule that you would like to have?
Yeah, sometimes they lay out differently just according to sometimes the dates you can get and previously scheduled things that are coming up that you got to hold a lot of dates for. So sometimes, it may look a little different as a strategic. This year's schedule just kind of laid out that way where you're at home a little bit early in November and then you just start, ripping away in December. But, for the last couple seasons as the league has expanded, as we've kind of gotten into some of the contracted events, it seems like our Decembers have always been really loaded with the high major games. But in this year in particular, I think starting with Florida State, finishing the end of the month with Arkansas, mixing in 2 Big Ten games, we're really going to be on the hustle, so to speak, from December on.
Did last season have any kind of impact on the way that you did non-conference scheduling this season?
No, if you look at our non-conference schedule, that was a strength. We scheduled a non-conference schedule last year that put us in a situation that if the season ends on January 1st, we're a highly seeded team in the NCAA tournament, with quality wins, and played on the road. We did a lot of things. This year's non-conference, although maybe mapped out a little different, I suspect will come into the same realm that if we do our part, that's a non-conference schedule that not only puts you in the tournament, but gets you a seed. That's what we try to strive for. So there's some games in there that maybe aren't as headliner, whether that be a Princeton, which maybe picked to win the Ivy. That's a hard game. They had a win at Arizona State last year, and we scheduled a La Tech that's been 20 wins, I don't know how many years in a row in the last 5 or 6 seasons. So we're bringing in some teams, I think, from a numbers perspective to keep us in that ballpark of seeding. And then when you look at the Florida States, the Arkansas, the UConns on the neutral with Notre Dame, again, neutral. 20 Big Ten games, our league being as good as it is, I think the schedule overall will line up right where we want it.
You like 20 games?
What's that?
You like a 20-game conference schedule?
Yeah, I think 20 games is, it's a lot. It really is. I think you look at the the wear and the tear on the teams that go through the league, it's hard. You go through a lot. But with the competition level that we play against, it's just 2 more quality games that are on your schedule and 2 more opportunities to play against whatever team it is on that day, however you look at it. So to me, the Big Ten was on the forefront of that. The league was forward-thinking. First team to go to 20. More conferences are now going to fill in. I won't be surprised in 3 or 4 years if every Power 5 league isn't sitting at 20. So we're not going to be any different than anyone else, but it gives our league another opportunity to put Big Ten basketball, out in the forefront, which is a good thing.
As you're coming into your 3rd year, is there any difference in preparation that you've gone through since you've come to Indiana? And does the personnel change that?
Our teams have been different since I've been here. Inheriting one, getting a lot of influx of new players last year. This year, adding some new players. We're bringing back our returning guys that have played some minutes now. So they've all been different. They've all been built different, but our preparation isn't any different. You plan very, very hard in the off season to build your team a certain way and be able to play a certain style with that group. For us, we have to be the best we've ever been in terms of our staff and being able to execute that plan. And our players got to be able to respond to that plan and get the most out of it. And the thing I like about this team a little bit more so than every guy on our team can play. There's not one guy from Armand Franklin, who's on his first way in, to Durham or Devonte, who are on their last rung. All these guys can play, and I think they all feel like they can contribute and impact the team. The key will be chemistry and guys being unselfish and understanding that certain nights require certain lineups or whatever it may be. But we have a lot of versatility. We have a lot of guys who can play, and to me, this team's going to be built with our speed and our ability to play inside. With a lot of those guys and certain combinations that get out there. But there shouldn't be a day that we feel apprehensive about putting a guy in the game. I think we should feel confident in all of our guys that we have the deepest team that we've had since we've been here.
With Devonte being voted team co-captain, how's that enhance his leadership role kind of going forward?
The players vote. We like to do it that way where the coaches don't have a say. When your teammates speak, sometimes the locker room means a little bit more than the coaches. And I think when you're voted as a captain, to me, the confidence of your team, the voice of your teammates speaks volumes. Devonte is a talented player. Everyone on our team, I think, respects that. I think they're going to expect him to be very productive this year on the floor with no questions, answered. He's going to have to be there every day, like he has from the end of the season all the way until right now. He's as good as there is in terms of where he's at right now from where he's been in terms of every day, the weight room, more vocal. Our conditioning plan, how he's attacked that, where he's at the start of the season in practice. So, to me, it speaks volumes that his teammates, voted him. But he knows right now this is his time, and he's going to have a lot of rope. He's got to do a great job with it.
You said that he's in the best mental position you've seen. I guess, can you elaborate on that a little bit? What's different about him right now?
Just look at the things that he's chosen to value. Each player values different things differently. Not everybody wakes up and says, I love to lift weights today. Not everybody wakes up and says, this conditioning program is not for me. To me, he's really embraced every challenge that we've got. He's had the best and most productive fall or preseason that he's had. And I think this summer he did a nice job. And if you look at him, he's going to have to play a couple different roles for us this year. Not only is he going to have to handle the ball and do some things that he's done in the past, but Devonte's a natural scorer. He views himself like that, and he's going to have to score the ball for us this year as well.
Durham was the other guy that won. Durham was the other captain announced. What led to this confidence level on him now?
I think Al's a great teammate. I think every guy that's been around him now, from our coaching staff to the players, really respect the way that he goes about his business. He cares about the guys on his team. There's not a guy on the team that wouldn't say a positive word about him. So it goes into great teammate. And then he really works hard. I mean, he's the hardest working guy. He's been around a long time. Loves to work on his own game. You can see his improvements physically and where he's come from to be able to handle. But as he enters his junior year, he's prepared. He's ready to go. And I feel like Al's set up to, obviously lead our group by example. But also, Al's not afraid to speak his mind because I think he has the respect of his teammates.
Talk about more ball movement this year. Is that due to more personnel change or philosophy change?
I would go, personnel change is one thing, but philosophy change. I think it's not that we're changing, it's that we have to evolve. We have to become more of what we aspire to be. And to me, that's having a lot of guys that you recruit that have a lot of different types of talents that can blend well. You're looking for versatility, multifaceted guys. We have that. And you know what? We got to play that way. The ball's got to move. Got to have a lot of different guys that can contribute. To me, maybe there's not headliners on the paper that everyone's looking at. Maybe there's a lot of guys like that. And I'm hopeful that this team gets the most out of everything rather than one or two or three guys that you can say, boy, these guys are their main guys. Maybe we have a lot of guys that contribute. To me, that's a team that can be dangerous in this league because you need a lot of different contributions on a given night in this conference because it's so hard.
Being a strength, the front court being a strength for you guys, but who do you think can hit the threes to make sure other teams aren't just packing it in against you?
Well, I think there's two guys that hopefully, knock on wood, that can become more bona fide shooters for us in Demezy Anderson. I think Jerome Hunter being on the perimeter, being on the wing area of having another guy. Both those guys have to contribute from the three-point line. They're good at it. I think our guard core has got to be able to shoot the ball better. If you look at over the course of time, when we've had our big wins or had opportunities to play well, we've had perimeter scoring. We've had perimeter guys make threes. If you just take some of the games, whether it's Michigan State on the road or at home, multi-number of games where you hit 10-plus threes. That's a big deal in college basketball, is being able to shoot it. And if you look at Robert, Devonte, Al, even Armand coming in as a young player, add Jerome and add Demezy. Those guys, those 6 players, they have to be able to keep the defense honest, and they're all good shooters, so they should be able to do it. But our front court's a big strength. We've got to be able to play through them and hopefully giving us the three-point shot or protecting the paints, maybe more so what teams try to do to us, and that's where it's going to be a big key, is to be, like I said, be able to alleviate pressure from the line. But we have better shooters this year individually, and those guys have a lot more confidence right now, and being able to take and make threes is something that we're encouraging.
What's the difference between the Al Durham that you talk to then versus the Al Durham that was just captain?
Well, I think Al's, like I said, he's a coachable guy, but he's a great teammate, and getting to know him in a short order before we got to, really spend a lot of time recruiting him and whatnot, I figured out he comes from a great family, and he's a great kid, and he loves to work the right way. I think over the course of time, he's stayed with what we've tried to emphasize. And through year 1 to 2, he's been an everyday guy. He's been a guy that we count on to do it and show the right way to do things on and off the floor. And as he comes into his junior year, I look at a very mature college junior, a guy that's played a lot, yes, but a guy that's well-versed on the floor, off the floor. And he's a guy that looks, to me like a guy that's really evolved under us in terms of understanding exactly what to do.
You mentioned Jerome, someone that you possibly count on. He's been through a lot of hardships physically, obviously, we know about. Realistically, how soon do you expect him to be to that level where he can really be contributing on a regular basis?
I think you'd look at most young guys and you would hope that they get their feet wet and they're able to go through a foot by the, so to speak, throw them in the fire. Then you figure out you get the Big Ten play and it's all off. All bets are off. Whatever you do in non-conference does not matter when you hit our league. Our league is a unique league where it all starts over and you just start hammering each other right in the face. And to me, that's when the mental makeup of a young player comes in. So Jerome hasn't been through any of that. I know he's very, very eager and hopeful that he's able to be the guy that everyone thinks he can, but he's got a long way to go. He's rusty. I would say from a conditioning element, just understanding what a game feels like. He still hasn't gotten through that. So I have tempered expectations on him because I think he's going to go through a lot of newness with that. With that being said, we're pushing him hard right now. He's pushing himself hard, and we're expecting him to contribute to this team. And you know what? Barring any unforeseen, step backs, that's how he approaches things right now. And he's better this week in practice than he was in last week. And he was, far cry in October last year, a month under his belt than he was when he started. So he's just like all these other young guys, but he's got some things that you can't teach. He can score the ball a lot of different ways. He's competitive. He's got some toughness about him. He's got an edge about him. And he's very, very hungry to play after being sat out, after watching that. So he's got a lot of motivation behind him, which is a positive. And we want to use that. But also, to me, he's only going to be as good as we allow him to work through it.
Archie, you talked about Devonte being in the best mental place he's been in. Do you think the suspension he went through last spring affected that at all? And if so, what do you think it taught him?
I'm sure it did. It's not easy to go through something like that. He went through it, and he moved on from it, and he finished the season as well as any player in our league. So let's just take that for the first step of a response. I think he's used his off season to kind of move through it again. and he's in a good place right now in his fall in terms of how he's approached things. So if you ask how he responded, do I think he responded well? Yes.
Durham obviously has had injury issues over the last few years. Is there anything you do in terms of practice or fluid management to try to keep him healthy, or you just think it's a fluke and just hope he'll be okay?
You know, before I got here, I think Durham dealt with a little bit, but in his sophomore year leading into January through December, he had his best, his healthiest time. He's a season-ending injury, which is a hard injury for anybody, but making that comeback last year to him to get to the floor was hard. You know, from an October to a November where he started to play to a December where he was in and out a little bit, you know, that was trial and error with him coming off that injury. I think January, you know, with an ankle and the lower body injuries that he had, he took some time to recoup in the middle of the year, which was a tough blow for us. But as you saw him come back in February, he showed his glimpses of him being himself. He's had a healthy offseason. Right now, as he comes into the start of practice, you know, I think to me, mentally, he's ready to roll. Physically, he's got to get through a couple things that all guys do here early in the year, nicks, bruises, or whatever. He's just got that type of body that's going to, you know, be one of which you have to manage a little bit. But we want Durham for the long haul, so whatever we have to do to get him there, that's the most important thing. And right now, last year at this time, he was 275. This year at this time, he's in the low 250s. So he's obviously in a better place. And, you know, for us, Durham heading into gameplay and heading into the season, it's not about October 1st. It's about getting him ready for that November, December, and then into conference play. We'll need Durham in that Big Ten bulk of the season because that's when a guy like Durham, that's when his weight carries gold because, one, he's got a great physical presence that you need in this leg.
Coach, how much importance do you place on verbal leadership, and who do you think those guys are? I know you mentioned Joey. Is there anyone else standing out to you?
Well, like I talked about Rob, and I think all of our guard play, but Rob in particular, being a point guard, has got to be able to have a voice, a reason, sometimes of getting your guys together or whatever it may be, but the point guard's got to have a voice. So I think guys who are playing that position with Al and Devonte, they got to be able to do it. I think a guy like Joey's a natural-born voice, loud guy. It's great to have that type of, you know, energy level around all the time. That's contagious, so we need that. But, you know, your older players got to find a way to impact the team with their voice. It's been a big part of this group in general is communication, not just on the floor but off the floor. You have to have a group that's willing to talk and has a deep relationship with one another, finds a way to connect with one another. So that's communication as well. But no question, is there a Pied Piper? I don't know. You know, you got to constantly try to evolve that, and hopefully more guys can grab the reins.
Last season, you talked about how Rob was very mature as a freshman in that position. How have you seen him grow this season going into sophomore year?
Again, talking, you know, being more vocal in other areas. Whether you're in a weight room group with him, whether you're in conditioning, you hear him talk. He's no longer that silent assassin, so to speak, that takes care of himself and doesn't worry about anything else. Now it's bigger than that. You know, he's got to be thinking about other people. He's got to be thinking about the group. It's always got to be, so to speak, the pulse. So Rob is one of those guys that, you know, to me, an added skill to his game is not only just the basketball, but it's the leadership capabilities.
Obviously, with the three-point line being pushed back a little bit, do you feel like defensively with the scheme you guys play and the size you have that's advantageous with the line being pushed back? You got to play some good hands.
I'm not sure. We're going to approach our defense the same. We've always been a team that prides itself on obviously defending the three. Part of the defending the three is being good on offense and not giving the team a lot of transition opportunities, or being organized and being able to get back and keep the game in the half court. You know, that's two. And I think the third thing is, you know, protecting the paint. You know, when you're a team that can really protect the paint and make things hard on the inside, you know, hopefully you take challenge shots. So we're always going to be the same there, and you know, we're a team that's going to teach our defense the same regardless of where the line is. The line will have an impact on some guys, you know, it will have an impact, you know, on others very little, but you know, to me, we haven't put too much thought in how the line moving back a foot or whatever it is going to impact the defense.
It's hard for freshmen to make impact in the Big Ten, but Trace Jackson-Davis is someone that you're probably going to rely on quite a bit. What do you need him to do, and what do you need to get out of him this season?
Yeah, Trace is going to play a pivotal role in us. He's a young player that's very talented, that's bringing a lot to the table, you know, in terms of, you know, size, athleticism. But he has some different things that you can't teach. Timing around the basket, blocking shots, timing, finishing. Everything with him is finishing, you know, in and around the basket, off the floor is quick. What he's got to do is learn how hard it is to, you know, the longevity of a season, the longevity of a month of practice, you know, the everyday grind. But But we have high hopes for Trace. He's exceeded my expectations as a freshman here in the fall with how he's worked, with what he's not really stubbed his toe on in terms of what I thought maybe some bumps in the road that would knock him off course. He hasn't done that. Armand as well. Those two guys as two true freshmen coming in have really responded in the challenges here early. They're going to hit walls. Trace is a guy, though, that has to impact the game with his athleticism, running, moving, jumping, blocking shots, rebounding the ball. But, sitting around scoring, part of him scoring the ball early in his career is going to be, finishing off of, the break and doing some things, pick and rolls. But Trace can impact our team in a big, big way. He is a live body right now, and to me, I'm really, really excited to watch how he grows.
Is that a harder transition for a freshman? Is the actual game itself, not the competition level, but the actual game and all that goes with it, the length of the season, the grind on that?
Yeah, without question. I think you can take any sophomore that's just started their sophomore year and moves in. They're just so much more prepared because they know. The biggest challenge as a freshman, whether you're Romeo Langford or Rob Finnessy or Trace Jackson Davis or Armand Franklin, is what you're going through for the first time. It's just hard. And the Big Ten is not an easy league because, to me, it's a league that prides itself on systems and style of play and cultures with older players, and you run into guys that have been doing it a lot longer than you. That being said, when you're as talented as a guy like Trace, sometimes you hope that trumps some of that learning curve, that he has such great ability. But Trace is as talented as a guy as I've been around, and he's got a great attitude. He's a great kid, and we're excited to have him. But I also will throw even Armand in there as a true freshman. He's really, really done a nice job. He has a chance to really be a part of what we're doing right now early in the year. And to me, as those guys help and make us better, as they get older in January and February, you see two guys that have a chance to have great careers.
You've singled out Demezy Anderson a couple times as a guy who can help you guys from a shooting standpoint and just playing more in his second year. What gives you the confidence enough to kind of single him out like that?
Well, partly off of the first, the question I just answered. He's so much more prepared mentally to know what he's dealing with. He knows what practice feels like. He knows what the preseason's all about now. He comes in knowing what to see in the Big Ten because he's there every day. And he's a better player right now. He's a much more mature guy. He's much more adept, and he's much more mentally knowing and understanding about what's going on. All college players should have that gift of 1 year under your belt just to see what it looks like as a second year. It's so much more fun. And it's more fun to coach him right now because he knows what's going on. So, but without question, one of the gifts he has is he can shoot the ball. The thing is, moving into this year, he's much bigger. He's 6'6", he's 220. He's a bigger player, so he's got to be able to defend his position a little better. Taking care of the ball is always something with him, learning, what to do without, not trying to do too much. But I think he'll adapt. I think he'll find his way, and he's going to play a pivotal role as a sophomore for us.
That was Archie Miller, Indiana basketball coach. We had the opportunity to talk to him yesterday at the Big Ten Media Day in Chicago. We'll have actually a lot more of that for you late. Can't play it all right now. Archie, we talked to Archie for nearly 40 minutes, I think. It was the longest ever I've got to sit down with Archie. But when we come back, we've got more to hear from. We'll hear from Devonte Green and Al Durham, the captains of Indiana's basketball team for the 2019-2020 season, and former Ohio State and current BTN basketball analyst Jim Jackson sits down with me as well. So we've got all that and more coming to you here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, back right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player. This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, October the 3rd. Kind of a calm day. Calm before the storm. Saturday, Hoosier hysteria breaks out at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. But that's in the middle of a full day of activity, athletics, going on the IU campus. You've got some fall baseball at 2 o'clock out at the BART Saturday. You can check out a few innings. Hell, you can almost watch the whole game. And then sachet, however you want to get over there. Skip to the Lou, my darling, for all I care. On over to the Simon Scott Assembly Hall for 4:30's Hoosier hysteria. Which, of course, the men follow. But then after that, what's that?
I said to bring a bag of canned goods to that as well.
Yes, bring it back, and thank you for the reminder. Make sure you bring your bag full of canned goods. You're only supposed to bring one, but don't just bring one. And don't just bring the crap that you don't want. Bring some good stuff. This is going to a great cause. So make sure you bring your canned goods. And then after Simon Scott Assembly Hall's Hoosier Hysteria festivities, you can slide right down the sidewalk to Wilkinson Hall, where Indiana volleyball will be taking on Northwestern in a Big Ten matchup at 7. They can use all the support you can get. We'll try to get Coach Steve Aird on and talk about that tomorrow. Do that for show. I had the good fortune to sit down with former Ohio State great Jim Jackson. Currently, he's a BTN basketball analyst. He's actually, I think, one of the best, if not the best, they have on the BTN.
He's a former player, of course. He played at a high level. He played in the NBA with the Houston Rockets. But just a good dude, man. Just a good dude. Why isn't all the Ohio State people get the TV gigs? Indiana's got the media department. But if you think about it, you got Clark Kellogg, Jim Jackson. What's your boy on Saturdays? Kirk Herbstreit. Then there's another one, the running back that does the college football show on ESPN. I can't think of his name. I ran into him at the basketball game over at Ohio State last year. But anyway, yeah, Ohio State. That's weird. But anyway, got the opportunity to talk to Jim Jackson. Let's hear what Jimmy had to say.
Now very, very fortunate to be joined by the great Jim Jackson, a former Ohio State great and BTN broadcaster. Jim, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, I remember back in your playing days, I actually was working for CBS Sports covering the regional in Lexington at Rupp
Come
Arena.
on, don't bring that up.
It was a great battle.
You're trying to bring that up.
Battle,
you're trying to bring it up.
No.
Don't do that.
You guys were so great, though, those battles back in the days. And even back then, Ohio State was great. Michigan, Indiana, that was a heyday, a golden age of the Big Ten.
Well, you know what? The beautiful part about it wasn't just the players, but it was the iconic coaches. Okay, with of course Bobby Knight, Coach Gene Cady, Lou Henson. Even on the back end, a little bit more, Dr. Tom Davis when I was early in my career. So it was so much more, I think, at that time, and not to say the coaches are iconic now,
right.
But it was a great time period for not only Big Ten basketball, but basketball in general across the country.
And now you have the good fortune to be one of the analysts on the BTN. We're grateful to have someone with your experience do that. How do you see the league then and now? I know it's a different era, but the players are kind of different. They talk about the iconic coaches, not the same,
right.
But still lots of great play in this league.
Well, it's different. I mean, a lot of people who played back in the day look at today's game and kind of frown a little bit. But the way I envision it, the way I see it, the game had to change. It had to evolve. It had to continue to grow. And out of that manifestation, you have more three-point shooting. You have more up and down, less post play, which the Big Ten was known for, the physical style. Big Ten is still physical, not as much, but you look at how Michigan plays, Indiana plays. You look at how Ohio State, Michigan State, they want to get the ball up and down, Maryland. So the transition from going from more of a rugged, post-up, inside-out has changed. And you see it across the board in the NBA, other colleges. And the game had to evolve to where we see it now. Again, a lot of people may not like it in regards to old school basketball, but the evolution of the game had to keep changing, and right now it's a reflection of it.
And there's a lot of new faces, Coach, talking about coaches. I mean, Archie Miller's still a new coach to the league. Chris Holtman. Then you've got Juwan Howard and Fred Hoiberg. So a lot of new faces and new blood into the Big Ten and new styles of play, basically.
Well, it is. It's funny because when Coach Collins came into Northwestern, he was kind of the young blood a little bit, kind of infusing some energy. Coach Underwood is a little bit older, but he's been there, still kind of relatively new to the Big Ten. Juwan, former teammate of mine with the Houston Rockets, I love that hire for Michigan, even though I'm an Ohio State guy. But because it gives you a brief look at the past, success of the past, morphing into the future, what Juwan can do. Archie, of course, we have ties with Archie from Ohio State and Dayton and everything like that. So I think the Big Ten right now is in a very good position, coaching-wise, to continue to be at the top of, the country in regards to the league itself. Now, how they recruit, the style of play is going to be incumbent upon them. But I think right now, if you look at those coaches we have, it's some of the best in the country.
Last year, the Big Ten was very, very strong, if not the strongest league out there. This year, there's a lot of questions. We don't know. Indiana's a team that a lot of guys have put down in 10th or worse.
I know.
So I don't really know what the handle is on this league other than Michigan State right now. Michigan State, obviously, the class of the league. But there's a lot of questions after that. Who fits where?
Well, it could be intriguing, though. You think about it because even last year, you figure, Michigan State was there, okay? But that leaves it open because Maryland right now, bringing back Jaden Smith and Anthony Cowan. Think about it, okay? Ohio State with Caleb Wesson, incoming freshman. But 1 through 3, you say, okay, we kind of know. Now the rest is wide open, which makes it very intriguing because if you take care of your business as a team, as a Penn State, as a Northwestern, as an Illinois, who we know has a lot of talent, could finish in the top 5, okay? Purdue is there, of course. Wisconsin. If you take care of your business at home, sneak a couple on the road, now you find yourself in a really good situation to compete for a Big Ten title. So I think not knowing gives us, I think, a lot of excitement about what the season will bring because we really don't know who's going to step up. And again, I think we saw with Michigan State being healthy. Indiana had some health issues last year. Think about it, early in the season. If you're healthy, now you got a chance to compete, especially with your key player. So that's going to play a factor into who kind of finishes at the top of this league.
And then you've got a team like Iowa. They've been recruiting pretty nicely. Fran McCaffrey, he was on with us earlier. Illinois, you mentioned. Penn State is a team that has been picked by a lot of people to make their first NCAA tournament this season.
Right.
So this league may not be as strong as it was last year, but is it deeper?
I think it's deeper from – I always said this about a conference. When you start talking about ranking conference, which conference is the best, it's not so much the teams at the top. You usually have 2 or 3 teams at the top that are really good. Then there's a drop-off. I think when you start looking at when like the ACC was really tough, then you had 8, 9 teams that were really tough. Those bottom teams could beat the number 1 seed. When the Big Ten is really tough is when the second half of the league is very competitive. That can go on the road and beat a Michigan State. It can go on the road and beat and win it at Ohio State. That's when the depth of the league, I think, for me, is very important, and it also gives the league more credibility. It's not the teams at the top. And we're talking about 6 or 7 teams this year in the Big Ten that we're still trying to figure out that can really make this a really deep league.
Is there anything that you can imagine doing that you'd have more fun at doing for a living that you do now?
Yeah, be a better golfer.
How is the golf game?
It's so up and down, man. It's because I don't practice enough. And being a former player, of course, that knows and understands that in order to be good at something, you got to put in the work and the results to speak for itself. So it's hard for me to really get upset when I shank it or I miss a putt or I fluff a chip because I'm not practicing. But outside of doing what I'm doing here with basketball, NBA, with Fox, it would be a better golfer.
You know, I remember I got mad once and threw a club, and a friend of mine said, "Dude, you're not good enough to throw a club." And I'm like, you know what? He's right. Never threw another club the rest of my life.
I don't even get – I get ticked off sometimes, but I don't get upset because I can't expect to be consistent, you know, if I don't practice. So if I hit a bad shot or do something, I'm like, it's to be expected. You know, and that hurts as a competitor. You know what I mean? It really does.
Golf is a sport that it doesn't matter what sport people played in, that's where they end up. With Tony Romo or yourself, it's like everybody. It's just it's like that last bastion of competition, I guess.
Well, you know, it's more so too. It's me against the course. I grew up as a caddy. I may be playing with you, against you in a tournament, but I still have to hit my shot. Right. And whatever the course dictates I need to do is what I need to do. And that's where I think the individual part of that sport is what makes it so challenging because it's something you can't perfect. If I go out and shoot my lowest round, say I shoot a 70, I'm still upset because I probably chunked something, missed a putt, and I could have shot lower. It's a game that you can never perfect.
And it's so mental. It's such a mental game.
Oh, big time.
You mentioned the Houston Rockets earlier, your former NBA team.
Yep.
Man, you got to be happy with the lineup they got, including former Indiana guard Eric Gordon. But, man, they've sure added some talent to that lineup.
Well, when you put Russell Westbrook with that. Now, again, it's going to be a little bit different. Everybody talks about Russell and James, they played together in OKC. Yes, they did, but they were two totally different players at the time.
How do you see that now?
Well, you know, here's the challenge you have. Both of those players need the ball in their hands, okay? So you saw a little bit of a struggle a little bit with Chris Paul last year with James Harden, but I will give both credit. James at the beginning of last season kind of deferred to Chris Paul and let him handle it, and so did Russell Westbrook a lot of times with Paul George by allowing him to kind of be the major focal point. The interesting thing is going to be in late game situation, who has the ball in their hands in the fourth quarter. And that just goes back to Mike D'Antoni, the coach. Offensively, what's going to be the game plan to maximize, the talent from both of those guys?
Jim Jackson, I can't thank you enough, sir.
You got it,
Appreciate
brother.
It's a pleasure and an honor.
You got it, man. Thank you for having me,
Jim Jackson
man.
joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player. This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat Radios. We're coming to you on this Thursday, October 3rd, freshly back from Chicago. Big Ten basketball media days took place yesterday. We were there with complete coverage for you, as we always are at Indiana Sports Beat, with complete coverage of Indiana and Big Ten athletics. Got to speak with Archie Miller yesterday, Tom Izzo, Matt Painter. You're going to hear from all those guys. Al Durham, Devonte Green coming up as well. A lot to get to. This weekend, hey, if you're looking for stuff to do in and around the campus of Indiana, you got it all you want and more. The women's soccer team, they're on the road. They're at Illinois. But on Saturday, I got a full slate for you. If you want to bring the kids and just do an all IU day, come up early. IU baseball's got a little fall ball action going on out at the BART at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. You can head out to the ballpark for a little bit and then saunter on over to Assembly Hall. Not too far away, walking distance, of course, to walk over to Simon Scott Assembly Hall. And then when that's for Hoosier Hysteria, which starts at 4:30, the women will take center stage then, and then the men's program as well. They'll do some joint things together. We're waiting to see who all may be coming to Hoosier Hysteria for that information to be leaked out, quote unquote, because they can't talk about it because it is an active recruit. Christian Lander is expected to be there from Evansville Rights. Of course, Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal, 2 commitments already. I know they're trying to land Dawson Garcia. I don't know how to read it. I want to say if they don't get a visit out of him for Hoosier Hysteria, then they just don't have much of a shot at him. Because that Archie has got to be swinging for the trees with that. And if they can't get him on a visit, I don't know how good it looks. But we'll see how that turns out. But then after that's over, you can just walk right down the sidewalk to Wilkinson Hall as the volleyball team has a Big Ten match with Northwestern at 7. You can make an entire day out of it. Ton to get to. Lots of talk yesterday in regards to the Fair Pay for Play Act. A lot of talk about that up at the Big Ten Basketball Media Days. Were you able to find that, Jake? We'll hear from Tom Izzo talking about that and some other things. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and go to that now.
Whether players are getting paid, whether politics is involved, you think of all the things. Those two are all distractions. What a kid has to go through now, you got to just beat the hell out of people and play hard, and you're a damn good player. You didn't have all these other things to deal with, You're getting so old that Twitter wasn't invented when you were there either, so you're no different than me. But those things are all factors that these kids got to deal with every day, and it's amazing when you think about it, to keep consistency. So that's what I'm probably proudest of.
You guys all got off Twitter. They decided to all get off Twitter.
Yeah,
was that probably a happy day for you.
It was happy, except that they got these other things, Snapchat and what are the other ones, So, Twitter is something because I don't like when they read what everybody says because I think that screws up more kids. I really do. It screws up more people. And if it means that they're going to take that 7-8 hours of social media that the average college student is doing, and we can get it down to 5, I'd be happy. But if they change Twitter into Snapchat or something else, it's still a waste of time.
Someone mentioned the other day, was Steven on the team?
There was Tom Izzo talking about a myriad of things. He switched into social media there for a second. What are your thoughts on the pay to play? I have no issue with athletes being able to make money because they're not allowed to have a job during the season. And as far as their likeness goes, it's their likeness. How can you stop somebody from that? I just don't know how you can. But I also think it needs to be fair and equitable, that it has to be controlled, and most importantly, it has to be uniform. While I think it's good that these states are prompting action because of their action, And I think that they were thinking smart enough that, like California, their deal is not set to go into effect for 2 more years. Actually, 3 more years. So that gives the NCAA all the time they need to get off their butts and do something to screw it up. Like have Condoleezza Rice do another commission on the pay-to-play now. Why don't they just make her the next Muppet head of the NCAA? We can have a Condoleezza Rice Muppet next to Mark the Muppet. Because Mark Emmert knows when he speaks, nobody cares. When he speaks, nobody wants to listen. They don't care what that bubblehead says. So he brings in someone he thinks is respected, Condoleezza Rice, who just knows, who has spent a lifetime running college athletics. So that makes perfect sense. Yeah, you're getting me started on a rant already. Tim texts into the show, I see projections for a bowl game already. Gator Bowl if we get to 7 or 8 wins. Or the Tax Slayer Bowl with 6 wins. That stuff doesn't mean anything to me right now until we get closer to see what other teams are doing. I think if they get 7 wins, they can end up at Nashville, the Motor City Bowl. To me, that is where the best place Indiana could possibly go. It's in Nashville. It's in driving distance from most IU fans. And you could play them in an SEC game against Kentucky. Hello. You think that wouldn't draw? Come on. It doesn't have to be Kentucky. It'd be anybody. I'm just saying that stadium would be freaking full. But you'd be able to drive. Instead of sending Indiana to freaking San Francisco, they don't have that kind of football fan base. Send them someplace where it's doable. Have some sense. But they're going bowling. I have no doubt about that. This team is good enough. I think that they're still going to surprise some people, man. That Ohio State game just put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But it's not so salty looking now. As people have seen Ohio State just do that to anybody they encounter. We got Al Durham and Devonte Green coming up. Next, Matt Painter. We're going to hear from Matt Painter. And I'd really like to find something on that fair pay to play. But they're going to have to do something. And they're going to have to do it quickly in NCAA because they're already behind. California's already signed this bill into law. South Carolina's already got legislation on its way. Kentucky, I just saw somebody, a legislator from Kentucky, from that state. They're getting stuff ready. Now, Indiana's going to be the last state because the NCAA is located in Indianapolis, along with a lot of other amateur athletic associations. Happening to that, of course, you always have some attention-seeking legislature wanting to get attention, so they'll do the opposite of what they should do. But Jim Delaney talked about that extensively at the Big Ten Basketball Media Day yesterday in Chicago. Let's hear what he had to say.
I think Condi Rice probably characterized that in the right way. Have been involved in litigation over pay-for-play, name, image, and likeness for a decade. We're quite honestly probably in the 7th inning of that. We have a big case in California that will go to trial in September. Win or lose, I think whichever party doesn't prevail will appeal it. I think it'll probably go to the Supreme Court, and that will bring some resolution to the issue of pay for play. Once that is resolved, well, one way or the other. I think that how the student participates in amateur sports, whether they're Olympic sports, collegiate sports, Little League sports, there'll be plenty of time to try to resolve that. But I think it's premature until the fundamental issue of can we make our own rules, one, and two, can we maintain intercollegiate athletics as we have known it over the last 100 years, despite its weaknesses, it has plenty of strengths. There'll be plenty of time to discuss issues like name, image, and likeness. But until the Jenkins case is resolved through the courts, I think we're better off just maintaining, holding our powder on what might occur in the future in that area.
Jim Delaney, yesterday he actually said, "We're not the minor leagues." Of course, that's coming from a man who saw $5.5 million in total compensation in 2018. He oversaw a conference that saw roughly $759 million in revenue. Let me say that one more time. $759 in revenue. $759 million. We're involved in an enterprise that touches 100,000 players, and maybe there's 1% or 2% that may have commercial value, but I would prefer that they have the choice to move that into a professional ranks, because I really don't see much difference myself between name, image, and likeness payments by a corporate sponsor to pay for play. Oh, that's a bunch of crap. 1 or 2%? Bull. That's a bunch of crap. See, it really aggravates me when people who make $5.5 million for a company that made $759 million start talking about people who have nothing not being able to do anything. It's just like the NCAA. Everybody wants to keep everything for themselves. So I don't want to hear the crap that this is about the kids. It's not. It's about money in their pocket. Roller, Jake.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN. Jim, obviously a lot of people are talking about the California bill, where players will be allowed to capitalize off their images and likenesses. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I'm a huge basketball fan, and as such, I appreciate the games that are played in the playground. I appreciate the games that are played in high school. I love the college game. I watch the NBA in the spring, and I watch the Olympics every 4 years. And I think each of those has an appropriate place. Certainly the high schools and the colleges are education-based systems. I think that there's going to be a period of time between now and the time that bill goes into effect, and I'm sure there'll be lots of NCAA conversations, maybe some congressional conversations, maybe some litigation. But my view is that there may be some players who are ready for the professional ranks, but that's not the college ranks. And I would like to see players who are ready for the professional ranks to be able to access the professional game, either through the D League or I would like to see the owners and the unions open up opportunities for young people, as you have in baseball. Same thing about the NFL. We're not the minor leagues. We're involved in an enterprise that it touches 100,000 players, and maybe there's 1% or 2% that may have commercial value. But I would prefer that they have the choice to move that into the professional ranks, because I really don't see much difference myself between name, image, and likeness payments by a corporate sponsor or pay for play. So it's a belief system I have. I know that people differ on it. I think the law of unintended consequences and the law of slippery slope apply here. And so my view is I'll be out in about 85 days. I think this will be discussed, and I think it'll be litigated, and I think it will be a congressional issue. But we're not perfect, but I think that the opportunities that we have for the great many shouldn't be sacrificed at the altar of the 1% that probably would have an opportunity to benefit here. It's a college game. It's different than the NBA, different than the Olympics, and different than the playground. So I hope we're able to maintain the opportunities we have for men and women and avoid pay for play insofar as we can.
There was Jim Delaney, the outgoing commissioner of the Big Ten Conference, clearly on the opposing side of that. And I get that there are issues that are going to come up. But here's the thing. They should have been prepared for this and already working on a solution instead of like every time the NCAA is coming up from the rear, not knowing what the hell they're doing, lost, and they got somebody else did it for them. It's just like the FBI corruption trial. The only reason anything's going to come out of that sanction-wise through the NCAA is because the FBI did it. The FBI did the work. Now these states are having to do the work to force the hand of the NCAA, who have been sitting on their hands, counting money with their lips, I guess. But you can't sit there and make $5.5 million a year in salary for a company, the Big Ten, that made $759 million and have that stance. Now, on the other hand, what's that?
He received a $20 million bonus just 2 years ago, in fact.
$20 million bonus, yeah. Nice. Anyway, there are issues that have to be. There's a big difference between playing for a school like Indiana and playing for Towson State. They're not the same. That's not going to be fair and equitable. That's okay. It doesn't have to be. This is life. It's real life. At the same time, they have to figure out how to disperse this. I'm not saying these guys need to be on a salary. But there's a lot of things people need to remember, too. What is the cost of an education, an out-of-state education, to someone to, say, Indiana? What is that, a 4-year degree worth? Just the cost. Not its value, but its cost. That's not cheap. But these athletes don't just get that for free. They get room and board. They don't have to pay for any place they stay. They don't have to pay for a morsel of food other than when they go out. Travel. They get to go to all these places. Medical care completely taken care of. Now, if you want to give them a salary and say, okay, now hold on now. Now you got to pay for this education here. Now that's going to be $175,000. Now I need you to pay for your medical care. There's another $50,000. Now your food, here's your food bill. Here's another $25,000. Now your lodging bill. Here's another $25,000. You start tacking that stuff on, they got to pay for it. It's going to be a different story. They are getting paid. And anyone that thinks otherwise, well, you're wrong. Just because it's not in the form of paper money, I assure you, they're getting paid. And some are getting paid much more than others. A degree from Indiana is worth a lot more than a degree from certain other places. And the same can be said for other schools. There's more value in it. It costs more to achieve. So, yes, they are getting paid. I'm not saying they should be on salary and be making $50,000 a year. That's ludicrous. And I don't think they should get too much because I think that would change the college experience. Let them be college students. Now, here's an idea. What about for 4-year graduates? This goes into an account for when they graduate. If they graduate, they get $25,000 a year. How's that? That's probably fair, but I don't know if that's too much. There's just a lot of questions and answers. The thing is, the NCAA knew it was coming, but like Muppet Mark and the rest of those morons, they waited until their hand was forced. So as usual, they're unprepared, ill-prepared to deal with things. But now they don't have a choice. Now they have to deal with it. California has signed this bill into law, and other states are going to be following suit. Hey, we got a lot more coming up. Al Durham and Devonte Green, we're going to hear from those guys. We'll hear from Matt Painter as well. Stay tuned. We're back with more Indiana Sports Radio right after this.
Take my hand and come with me because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Coming to you here on this Thursday, October 3rd. A lot of selections. Trace Jackson Davis selected as the preseason freshman of the year. I don't recall. Michigan State was selected to pick to win it, of course. They're far and away seeming to be above everybody else. Cassius Winston from Michigan State, preseason Big Ten Player of the Year. I don't understand really why they do this. Here's what we're already thinking before there's been a dribble taken. The other Big Ten team members, Dosunmu from Illinois, Wieskamp from Iowa, Cowan from Maryland, Jalen Smith from Maryland, Xavier Simpson, Michigan, Xavier Tillman, Michigan State, Cassius Winston, Caleb Wesson from Ohio State, Lamar Stevens from Penn State, and Nojel Eastern from Purdue. All those teams are expected to make the NCAA tournament this year. Hence why you see their players listed there. One reason you don't see Indiana listed there. They don't have that guy. I mean, Devonte Green is their guy, but they don't have a superstar. They don't have a star, which may be a better thing for this particular team because chemistry was a horrific problem last year. And I think that was a big reason why. Regardless, as long as they win, it doesn't matter what they have. I think you've got a great player to be in Trace Jackson Davis. It's going to be interesting to see what they can get done this year, what Archie Miller can get done this year. This is a crucial year for him. He has to make the NCAA tournament. He doesn't make the NCAA tournament, and there are going to be lots of head scratching. Roger in Evansville texted in, my concern for pay for play that it would used as a recruiting tool, players could make X dollars playing for UK as opposed to a lesser amount for saying IU. I could see some coaches using that as an incentive for their pitch to recruits. Well, that's my whole point that, and thanks for the text, Roger. That's the whole point of it. It has to be uniform per team. Or if you're an SEC team, it's this. The Big Ten team, it's this. Power 5 team, period. It's this. But these guys are not going to be making money 1 through 12. But there are schools like Kentucky that will generate more than others. They pride themselves on that stuff. But it's already here. The problem's already here. That's why you had the issues with the shoe companies. The issues are already here. It's just finding a way to do this that is equitable and fair across the board, at least as far as the Power 5 goes. I don't expect there to be the same thing between Indiana and Towson State. He can't be. But it's also part of life. People make more money than other people. People have better jobs than other people. People work at better companies than other people. It's just it's the trail of life, man. You might as well get started now. What's the difference? So that's my thought. Al Durham and Devonte Green spoke with the media yesterday as well in a breakout session. Who we got up first, Jake? There we go. How about both of them?
And a couple of the mainstays of that team joining us. Al Durham is here along with Devonte Green. Fellas, welcome. Archie Miller joining me as well. And, Coach, a weird year last year for you guys. You started like gangbusters, and then things kind of spiraled downhill and never able to kind of get it back. How do you process that with these guys? Kind of how do you compartmentalize what happened last year and move forward?
I think the thing is with every team and every season, it's always going to be different. You take the positives from one year and you build on it, and you take the negatives. And I think a lot of the thing that we talked about in the offseason and now moving into this season, especially with two guys like this who have experience under their belt, there's going to be some bumps in the road. There's going to be some ups and downs. But at the end of the day, you guys have to stay with each other. And I think humility, having the ability to care about one another a little bit more, spend more time worrying about other people and what you can do to make them better rather than yourself. Once you get outside of yourself, good things happen. This is going to be that type of team. We have a lot of guys that can contribute, but we're going to have to stay with it because I think we're a team that's going to have a great schedule in front of us, got a lot of opportunities, but it's a team that can really be good if everyone is contributing.
Al, what do you take from last year that you feel like you can build on heading into this year?
Like Coach said, you take the positives from last year and you just learn from them. You take those bumps and bruises and you get up and you learn and you move on to the next year. So we just been working hard, trying to, learn from last year and just try to take all the positives away from it.
Devonte, where have you seen the biggest growth in this team?
The biggest what, sorry?
Growth.
I think we got to play together. I think we will play together. And if we're all on the same page doing that, then we'll have a successful season.
Adversity was such a big theme last year, and I remember you saying to me at one point, I just wish we were responding better to the adversity. You hadn't responded well. How do you change that culture? How do you get a team to respond? Because in a season this long, this thing goes on for 5 months. There's going to be adversity. We're all aware of that. How do you get them to react to it better?
Well, I think, the big thing is I think your older players, your most experienced guys have to also have a voice in and around those times. They have to have a calming voice. And, Devonte and Al, with me now going on their third year, Devonte's a fourth-year player in the Big Ten. Al going into his third year. Both guys were named captain. They have to have a calming presence on their teammates. They have to make people feel like everything's okay, we're fine. And I think the best teams or anyone you've ever been around always show that sort of poise when things aren't going how they're supposed to. The best always seem to resurface and show what they're capable of, so to speak, because they don't get too flustered. And I think that's a big thing. You can't really get too high and too low. These guys play on a big stage at Indiana. There's always eyes on them. And I think the big thing is just focusing on the next challenge, the next day, the next opponent, whatever it may be. But again, just keeping it within our ranks and making sure that our guys and our organization with what we're doing are the only thing that matters.
That was Archie and Devonte and Al talking on the BTN set. But actually, we've got Devonte and Al in a breakout session. Let's go to that.
Talking to each other, talking about the offense.
5 minutes, guys. 5 minutes.
How the defense works, making sure everybody is on board with it, everybody's in their right role. So we've all been gelling and we've all been doing a great job with it.
4 scholarship cards on the roster. It's obviously a low number. That means everybody's going to play. Are you looking forward to that opportunity? You're going in knowing that you're going to have a big role. Everybody is. Describe what that feels like.
Just everybody has to play their part. Everybody has to contribute, so everybody has a shot. So, everybody has to be ready for when their name is called. So I feel like it's a great opportunity. We just got to come in and work hard every day, and we'll most definitely, I feel like, we'll reap the benefits of what we put in.
And I think everybody kind of knows what they're going to get from you, Devonte, and Rob. When it comes to Armand, what would you say like the number one thing that you should expect? Is it shooting? Is it defense? What are you seeing that really stands out to you?
I feel like a lot of things, honestly. I can't pinpoint one thing, but I feel like it could be shooting, it could be defense, it could be attacking the basket. I feel like he can do a lot of things as a freshman, and he'll be really good for us this year, and I feel like
Has he surprised you?
That was Al Durham talking yesterday. The audio not very good there. I didn't do that interview. I stuck that to somebody else. I didn't like it. But, I really think they should work with these guys on their media appearances, on especially a school like Indiana who has a media school, and so many of these people want to go into that. I really think they should work on that stuff. To make it a more polished presentation. That's just my thought. Because I know how it was when I was a kid. I wasn't very good at that stuff. Hell, I'm not good at it now. So it's not natural. It's something, well, for some people it is. But for a lot of people, it's not natural. And it's hard. Archie doesn't like to, I don't think Archie enjoys it at all. But Archie is mostly coach speak. I don't think he's, if you want genuine and honesty, go to someone like Tom Izzo, Matt Painter, veterans, guys that have been in the coaching ranks for a long time. They've been around. They'll tell you what the real truth is. They'll tell you like it is. And you can do so without burying people, but they'll tell you the truth instead of a bunch of coach speak. And I appreciate that about those guys. Well, as a matter of fact, we got Matt Painter. We can go into that if we want to, Jake. I talked to him about
that had a lot of success, but with
roster
teams that you didn't have the 5 stars and all that.
Right.
Texas Tech, Virginia. Do you find it's easier to maintain roster balance?
Yes.
By doing that?
No question. That's a great point. There's no doubt you are, because their expectation is to come to your place and get better and improve. And if things happen, like a DeAndre Hunter, and then like now all of a sudden they get to leave and be a lottery pick, then great. But if they're not ready yet, then great. They're going to keep working. And you look at Texas Tech, like Jarrett Culver didn't say, hey, I'm going to Texas Tech and I'm going to leave after 2 years and we're going to go to a Final Four and that's that. No, I'm going to go to Texas Tech, and he's a great coach, and he got better and he improved, and he was a little bit under the radar, obviously, but he went to the right place that needed him. See, some of these guys that are highly ranked guys, they go places, then they get there, and then it's like they don't need them because they got all the rest of the highly ranked guys. But Texas Tech, I think Virginia's done the best job of any program in the country evaluating it. They go and get their guy. The guy that made the play, last year that was a true freshman for Virginia that made that pass. That guy's a true freshman from the state of California. He didn't have a lot of people. Kyle Guy was Mr. Basketball in our state. He was a great player. Ty Jerome, he was a great player. Were they McDonald's All-Americans? Kyle Guy was. I don't think Ty Jerome was, but he was a top 50, 60 type guy. And so when you look at the pieces, Diakati wasn't a highly ranked guy. So they got a national championship with 2 guys that ended up making the play that hurt us. And so, but in their evaluations, their staff thought they were great. And that's really all that matters.
And I know you can't speak for other programs, but for yours, does that help you maintain consistency year in, year out?
Yes, you have less transfers. So I don't know if we're the school that has the fewest amount of transfers in our league, but we have to be very, very close to it. And then the more you can have consistency, and people, like if you're talking as a coach and you're in practice, and 60 to 70% of them don't know what you're saying, it's really hard to win basketball games. But if like 80% of the people in your practice understand what you're saying, and the players are good enough, you got an advantage. And that's what a lot of these guys in this room struggle with, is that it's a revolving door. I'm going to come in your program, I'm going to be good, I'm going to stay, or I'm going to leave and go in the draft. We had as many people leave early last year in college basketball, get drafted, that didn't get drafted. That's alarming. People are getting bad advice, but people are looking at the quick fix. The draft's becoming an ego trip. Who cares if you get drafted? The goal is to get in the NBA and stay in the NBA. That's the goal. Getting drafted 57 and then going and not having a college degree and going to the G League and then playing overseas, you could have done that with a college degree. And then maybe you didn't get drafted, but you didn't make it in the NBA anyways. So trying to get them, I always talk about in recruiting, you're going to be a former player for 50 to 60 years of your life. And if that doesn't sink in, because it's your life, you should take a basketball opportunity and have a better life because of it. But if you just look at it as a basketball opportunity only, then you probably won't. So,
where are you 2-3 now?
Coach Matt Painter at the Big Ten Basketball Media Day yesterday talking about roster balance and the future of these kids. A lot of good points. And I'd asked him those questions. I asked him about the roster balance. It's true. I mean, think about it. They don't have a lot of transfers. I mean, I'm trying to think of one. I'm like, man, that's true. It never dawned on me. They're keeping their guys for 3 and 4 years. That creates balance, consistency. I mean, there are a lot of teams that do that. Indiana's got to get to that point because they're not there. Their roster is – now, I'm not talking about this season. I'm talking about going forward. The roster is not close to being balanced. And it shouldn't take 4 years to get a balanced roster. But that's where they are. Hey, if you're looking for stuff to do, man, this weekend, Saturday's a big day on the IU campus. You got a little fall baseball taking place at the Bart at 2 o'clock. You can head out there to watch the Hoosiers. And then you can head on over to the Simon Scott Assembly Hall, 4:30. Hoosier Hysteria will be going on. That'll probably last an hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours. Get you out of there at 6:30. Just in time to walk down the sidewalk to Wilkinson Hall as the Hoosiers volleyball program will be taking on Northwestern in the 7 p.m. Big Ten match. That's going to wrap up that segment. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett. Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, October 3rd. Wrapping things up, putting a bow on the show. You got some Hoosiers in the NFL. Tevin Coleman with the San Francisco 49ers now. Had a high ankle sprain in week 1. Still dealing with that. He's only had 6 attempts on the season. Hopefully he gets back soon. Dan Feeney's with the LA Chargers. He has started every game for the Chargers and has played on more than 90% of their snaps. You think about this offensive line of Indiana's, they're missing that. This guy's starting in the NFL. So if you think that doesn't matter, it matters. Jordan Howard, he had a breakout week in week 4 with his new team. the Philadelphia Eagles. He gained 115 yards from scrimmage, scored 3 touchdowns. Former Hoosier back is stuck in a running back committee situation there in Philadelphia, but he's kind of emerging as the main player. Cody Latimer, former wide receiver of the Hoosiers with the Giants. He's been dealing with some injuries. He's only 27. He started all 3 games that he's been available. Wes Martin, there's another guy. There's another loss on that line. He started in his first game in week 4. It was his first start. First game in the NFL ever. You think they don't miss Wes Martin? Shoot. Roger Saffold, he's with the Tennessee Titans, another big offensive lineman. He signed with the Titans in the offseason. It's his 3rd NFL contract. He's played in 100% of the Titans' offensive snaps thus far. And he plays a lot on special teams. Of course, you got Nate Sudfeld with the Phillies. He broke his wrist during the preseason. He's returned to the Eagles roster. He's expected to resume his projected role as Carson Wentz backup in the coming weeks. Ian Thomas, tight end with the Panthers. Remember him? Woo. He's had a surprisingly limited role thus far as part of the struggling Panthers offense. He's appeared in all 4 games. He's only been targeted once. No receptions on the season. Also on rosters, but no appearances, Brandon Knight. He was on the Cowboys opening day 53-man roster. Jason Spriggs on the Packers injured reserve. Chris Covington was briefly on the Cowboys roster, but did not appear in a game. So there's that. Get you caught up on the NFL side for the Hoosiers. Another text into the show. I work. The longer I'm here, the more I make. The parts and drawings I create has my name on them, but I don't get any extra pay for what I create. My pay is the same, so give the students pay by grade and increase as they move up in class. There's an idea. I still think after you leave college, you can get paid for whatever you want, your name or what you learned. How to play a sport or marketing, criminal justice or whatever. College is for learning. Going for a sport or a degree in marketing or whatever. A sport is just extracurricular. Yes, but there are a lot of demands when you play that sport. A. B. That sport is generating millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. The TV rights have gotten out of control. Indiana received $51 million just from the Big Ten Network. $51 million. Do you know where the bulk of that money comes from? Football and basketball. So, I don't know what the answer is, but you got to find it. And as life goes forward, change continues to happen. And I believe that this may be a change that its time has come. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. If you could trust the adults to put the money back where it should be, that would be okay. But you can't. You can't. You got places like Indiana who takes that BTN money and does whatever they want with it without telling anybody where it's going and won't reveal the information. So if you could trust people, it would be different, but you can't. You can't. That's just my take on it, but who cares, right? They're going to do what they're going to want to do. Hey, man, that was another great show. We had so much on today. Archie Miller, that was to be able to sit down with him yesterday. That was time. That's the only time we'll get to do that all season. That's it. It's over. Bam, done. We'll not have that kind of access again. We'll see him in 10-minute spurts from here on out. I'll see him when he does 10 minutes when he does his press conference every week. and 10 minutes after every game. And that's it. That's how that'll go. Tomorrow on the program, Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana is going to join me. That also should be another Todd Father Friday. Hopefully the Todd Father can make it this week. We'll talk to the Todd Father about the pay-for-play thing. He's a former student. He knows the rigors of it as much as anybody, or as good as anybody. He went through it. He lived it. Now, I think that there's another point that people don't look at. A lot of these student athletes, they come from poor backgrounds. Not everybody. So they're going to have a different opinion. You look at, what's his name from Florida, the quarterback?
Tim Tebow.
Yeah, Tim Tebow. You know, he has a different background. So his opinion is going to be different, and that's fine. People need to realize, though, those backgrounds are very different for most of those kids. Oh, that's enough of that stuff, I guess, right?
For today.
Hey, man, thanks a lot for everybody on the program today. We got to hear from Archie Miller, Tom Izzo, Al Durham, Devonte Green, Jim Jackson. Couldn't thank him enough, man. He was awesome. Matt Painter had some good stuff to say as well. But we'll be back tomorrow with plenty more. Thanks a lot for joining us. Until then, for Jake, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.